Hello, welcome back to Only Pistols. Today we're having a look at a Pardini K58. This is a single-stroke pneumatic 177 target pistol. Let's start by looking at the markings on it, or in this case, the lack of markings. So on this side of the receiver or the pistol, nothing visible. On this side, the only marking is the serial number, which is punched into the receiver, and then on the top loading cover you've got Pardini, and the any other information is very discreetly there on the top of the frame. Model K58, 4.5, made in Italy, and then the catalogue number. So that's it for production markings. The rear sights though are marked for windage and elevation, and they're pretty clearly marked for once, which is really good. The sights adjust by click, about 2mm per click, and you will need a screwdriver to adjust them, but they're quite good. The rear sight blade was an interchangeable rear sight blade, so 2 screws hold the blade on, and as supplied you would have had a range of sight blades delivered with it. So this is the only one I've got. One other thing worth noting while we're here is that at some point previous owner painted the back of the grip black, which I think would have been a really good move. It was a really good move. If they hadn't, I would have. That being bright wood facing you, particularly with this kind of shiny finish on the grip, would have been quite distracting. So when I use it, I carbide it down, so hence the black on it. But yeah, a really good rear sight and a nice height above the hand. Foresight element is focus on it. It's a round pin just set into the barrel housing cover, and it is removable and interchangeable. And again, there was a range of pins that were sent with the pistol for different widths. To change that, you've got this shroud on the end of the muzzle, and to change that, to take that off, you have to undo that screw. If I can just get it to focus on it, you have to undo that screw on the bottom, and with that off you can then get at the screw that holds the Foresight in. So that shroud is just a shroud. I don't think it does anything. It's not a muzzle air stripper or anything, and that just covers the end of the muzzle. So as you can see, a nicely crowned plain steel muzzle end there. Construction: rifled steel barrel. And while we're looking at the barrel, let's look at some other bits about it. So starts obviously at the muzzle, comes all the way back, goes through into the receiver. You've got a grub screw here, which is what holds the barrel in place. And then you've got a cutout in the top of the barrel for the pellet probe and where you drop the pellet into. And then it keeps coming back to the linkage through here, and the barrel actually ends about there where my thumb is. So you've got quite a lot of barrel, and with everything running in it to keep it very concentric, so a really good thing. The rest of the construction: aluminium for the front piece for the barrel frame holder, aluminium for the main frame that carries the compression piston, aluminium for the loading lever or compression lever, and then aluminium for the main receiver and frame. So a lot of aluminium on it, and a very good, so it adds to or leads to the low weight of the pistol. And then again, an aluminium top cover. Trigger is adjustable for first and second stage weights, and the trigger shoe can be adjusted and moved in and out with that screw there just behind the trigger. So undoing that means you can move the trigger forwards and backwards, but also side to side within reason. This screw here, that's your over travel stop, so that just stops the plate that the trigger sits on from coming down any further. So screw that in to reduce it, take it out to allow more room. And the adjustments then are on the face of the trigger there. So there's the light on it, so the one either side. So quite an adjustable trigger, and a change to the earlier versions of the K58, which had 2 sets of adjustments for first and second stage separately, and no over travel. Grip: one piece hardwood with an adjustable palm shelf. It's stained hardwood and with quite a glossy finish to it, which, as I said, with the rear sights would have been quite distracting, which is why they got blacked out. But it does, if you get quite hot, it can feel a bit greasy because it's a varnished finish. Worth noting while we're here with the palm shelf that it's adjustable into this, or the screw goes into this captive nut here. And what's unusual about this is that that is held in place with a screw that goes just into it, so can hold the palm shelf against the grip. But there's then space for you to get screwed or get a hex drive down through there to actually take the grip off. So if you need to take the grip off for any reason, take it off without disturbing your palm shelf setting. That's quite a good thing. So operating it, single stroke pneumatic, open the lever, and you just quite simply pull the lever forwards, and as you get towards the end of the travel, it lifts the loading gate up. And it does that by, there's a little tab down in there, if I can get it to just focus on it, and that just moves that tab. So as you bring the loading lever forwards, it moves that tab back, and that tab just simply cams onto the loading lever, pushes it over, and that's it in place. That just cams that up, and the spring then lifts it up into the spring here, lifts it vertically. The pellet probe is a hollow design, so the air is coming up from about here into the bottom of the barrel, into the pellet probe, and then directly in behind the pellet. It's a very good system. So having got it open, other things we can see, the piston itself is plastic and it's got an O-ring on the front of it for the compression. The time these were made, some doubt was raised as to whether this would be have any kind of degree of longevity to it, because it's plastic. It's wearing very nicely, doesn't cause a problem, so I think they got that right. Linkage then is a steel link from the cocking lever. The cocking lever has an eccentric cam, so that can adjust how much pressure you get going down into the piston, and I'll touch on that again in a second, but it is an adjustable thing, so there's not a great amount of adjustment, but there is some, and then it's just kind of rotating around this pin. So got it open all the way forward, it's cocked the hammer, set the sear, so you quite simply pull that round, and it's not got any compound linkage, so it's closing the last bit is quite difficult, and you also have to make sure you keep your finger out of the way because it's quite prone to bite you otherwise. From there, take a pellet, drop it onto the loading tray, and just close that down, which seats the pellet reputably into the barrel and makes the seal. And then to fire it, take up the first stage on the trigger, and it fires. So the setting the depth of the piston using that eccentric cam is quite simply that if you don't give it enough, you don't go over center, then there's nothing to hold the pellet, the co-loading lever up. Too much, and you're putting too much pressure on that plastic piston against the end of the cylinder tube. So just quite that bit, but you can see there's quite a degree of force required just to do that without actually compressing a load of air as well. So let's just go over that one more time. So lever all the way forwards, pops the loading gate up all in one, sets the valve, and then quite simply bring that back round, and you're kind of pushing the two together, so it's quite a natural feel to cock it. It's not the lightest, but neither is it one of the heaviest, and it's quite a natural action to do, and it's also quite easy to do on a modern range, keeping it pointed down range. So again, just drop the pellet onto the loading tray, close the cover, first stage take up, it fires. Now, one of the things this hasn't got, I'm looking at controls that you would normally find on a 10-meter pistol, is any dry fire facility. So there's no dry fire settings that you can make. Being a single stroke pneumatic, there is absolutely no problem with cocking it and firing it with no pellet in. So you do have a dry fire facility. It's just really loud, and certainly if you're practicing training at home, doing dry fire training, which if you're a serious competitor you will be, it's quite loud in the house. The whole advantage of doing dry fire training is that it's usually quite quiet and allows you a degree of kind of concentration, and that you can do it in a quiet corner. Well, if you're blatting away with this thing, there isn't a quiet corner. So bit of a thing, but not the end of the world. So that's its operation. It's a 10-meter target pistol. Is it accurate? Yep, of course it is. Pretty much all 10-meter target pistols are accurate. It's how much they help you, and this one I find really nice. I like the balance of it. Described at the time as being a bit light. You can add a barrel weight. They came with like a bridge weight that would sit on top and you could move it backwards and forwards. Only about 20 grams, so not making a great deal of difference, but it wouldn't be hard to load it up with more if you wanted it. But I find the balance really good, and that score's reflected it. It's easy to be repeatable with it, which is what you want in a target pistol. So production dates. Well, Pardini were on a bit of a roll with this one. So the previous single stroke pneumatic they put out, the P10, that came out in 1982, and this subsequent pistol is 1984. So the two together, I don't have an end date for production of these, but they were very quickly moving into producing CO2 pistols and then into air. So probably not a vastly long run. Certainly by the 90s, you were looking at these being phased out. So probably kind of 84 to 90, somewhere around that. I'm not entirely sure. If anyone knows, please drop me a comment and let me know. So that's the production dates for it. Known faults, there aren't really very many. Spare parts are now quite difficult to get, but the main piston seal is just an O-ring, and it was known to be a home DIY repair or replacement job, so not particularly difficult to work on. And that's the glory of the single stroke pneumatic. It is a very simple design. It's basically a glorified bicycle pump, a very beautiful bicycle pump, but there you go. One last thing, the inner cylinder itself is steel, so a lot of aluminium, which keeps the weight down, but the one bit where you want a bit of pressure on it is steel, so that's a bit I missed out earlier. So there you go, Pardini K58 single stroke pneumatic, another piece of Italy's single stroke pneumatic history, and there was a good group of these pistols all came out in the early and mid 80s, and this was one of them, and the length of it, the way it balances, I find really, really nice. So if you ever get a chance to shoot a K58, do. It's a really interesting pistol to use. Limited on how much you can adjust it, but if it fits you, it will fit you really well. So if you've liked this, then please like, share, subscribe, tell other people about it, hit the bell icon, do all that YouTube stuff. And otherwise, I'll see you again soon with another pistol. Thanks very much. Bye.